Hey everyone, so today we'll be taking a look at my Gotham Comics collections. So for those of you who don't know, Gotham Comics used to publish all sorts of comics, be it Marvel, DC, or some of their own independent stories, and sometimes even in regional languages all across India back in the early 2000s, and they were sold for an extremely cheap price, which they made them very popular among a lot of comic fans here in India. And the specialty was that they got the license from Marvel DC to print all the recent issues, which was amazing. And since they were all these compact single issues, it was a great collection to have and for people to get updated with what was going on in US. But sadly over time it died because of low paper quality and the low drop in market interest for these comics, and sadly this just remains as a relic. And sometimes you come across them across Instagram posts or some buyers or auctions at some trade fairs, but you don't see these in production anymore. And I really do wish that Gotham Comics comes back and they start selling it in the same format again. So first we'll be taking a look at the Ultimate Spider-Man collection from Gotham Comics. So I have it starting here with issue number 3, and I actually have the supersized volume 1 and volume 2, which covers the first 6 issues of the Ultimate Spider-Man storyline. This came out back in the early 2000s with Mark Bagley as the main artist, and this was a totally new take on the Spider-Man storyline and his origin story. And it dealt well with the late 90s and early 2000s vibes of the teenage years and the kids, and how they nailed Peter Parker's personality and how he acts to getting his superpowers and just wants to be a teenage kid but is still trying to figure out what to do. And he learns the very important lesson of with great power comes great responsibility in a very hard way, kind of like the canon event for Peter Parker. But he's still figuring out the ideal way to go about it, and he has a lot of challenges when it comes to Norman Osborn, Kingpin, and so many other challenges. Like, and what is also great about this storyline is also they dwell into a lot of deep and serious matters and don't shy away from making it just a kid friendly comic book, which I like a lot. And I think also this has to be one of the series that has some of the best artworks in it also, because the Spider-Man and all the villains look really amazing in this. And now that the new Ultimate storyline has come out, I'm really liking what they're doing with it story wise, and I cannot wait to see what goes on with that. It was this storyline that gave us Miles Morales eventually, so I guess this storyline is an amazing hit. And I have the giant super special Spider Girl. So this is a reprint of the Spider Girl issue 1 to issue 6, or issue 0 to issue 06, I guess. And as you can see, this is a thick binded book, and this is one of the few main formats that Gotham Comics had. It had all the single issues we just saw so far, and it had this kind of double thick issues that contained about 5 or 6 issues, and then it had the super sized issues. And what was great about these Gotham Comics is that it was not only selling in India, it was selling in places like Singapore and Malaysia as well, which is what I have in a certain comics of my collection as well. And you can see the paper quality is so nice and so vibrant. And these kind of pocket books are so amazing, something that I've always loved, because you can just take them in your bag, go around anywhere when you're traveling, you're in the bus, anywhere, quite literally you can just take this along with you anywhere and read it. And I really love this format, which is just one of the reasons why I miss this format and this company publishing these books now. And it is now Graphics India, but I wish they would just go back to making comics like this again. And these are a few random collections that I have. This is the Spider-Man and X-23 team up, which is cool to see. I didn't know they had actually teamed up before, and now that Daphne Keane is back as X-23, I think it would be cool to see Tom Holland and Daphne Keane team up together. And here I have Superman Adventures issue number 1, and this style of animation is so nostalgic because I grew up seeing the cartoons of the Justice League, and this is that exact style of cartoons, so this is really cool to look at. And this is Devi issue number 1. So this is one of the few ventures that Gotham Comics and Virgin Comics did on their own, where they got in their own characters and own stories. They had their own creative process, and actually I've read a few of these issues, but I don't remember the entire storyline. And when I read this particular issue, I liked it a lot, and I don't know if they're ever going to revive this storyline again, but I would be really happy if they did. And this is all in the early 2000s. I mean, just look at all this art style. It looks so professional and amazing. This is all done by Indian artists, and it's these kind of things that make me wish that Gotham Comics really did live on, because we would have gotten a lot more of these independent projects. Another great thing that I love about Gotham Comics is how it had this comic corner where there would be letters from the editors, and there would sometimes be this fan discussions also as well. I have here with me the Justice League Avengers issue number 3 and issue number 4, and this issue looks so awesome with Superman holding Captain America shield and Thor's hammer. This is like the ultimate comic book hero representation, and I have this in a cover that I'm not interested to take out because I just don't want to bend it around any corners, because some of them are already a bit bent, and I don't want to ruin this cool team up issue of a Marvel and DC crossover. Up next here I have one of the other holy grails, the Spider-Man India issue number 1 that came out in 2005. So this is one of those rare collaborations of Marvel and Gotham Comics where they went ahead and made their own character, and this gave the birth to Pavitra Prabhakar, who today is Spider-Man India, and it's such a popular character. And this was done by Jeevan Kang, the artist. I even have a signed edition copy with me of the first issue. I mean, just look at this artwork. It is so cool. For the early 2005, this was such a cool design. I really love this dhoti design, man. I wish they bring it back, and I really wish they bring back the spider on the mask as well. And this issue is basically a retelling of the Amazing Fantasy issue number 15, where Pavitra Prabhakar learns that with great power comes great responsibility, the canon event of Peter Parker or Spider-Man. Continuing with the series, I have issue number 2 and issue number 3, where we get to see Pavitra fight Dr. Octopus as well, and this is him swinging across the Taj Mahal, and I think this is a Singaporean edition. And this is issue 4, the final part of the series. This is the oldest Gotham comic that I have in my collection with me since I was a kid, and as you can see, it has a lot of marks here. I've put some tape here because it's been damaged over the years. Not done a pretty good job in keeping it in good condition, unfortunately. But I've read this comic over 1,000 times, and this has always sparked interest in me, and I just love this concept. So I was very happy to see that Marvel chose to revive Pavitra Prabhakar and give him a new run. And oh, you got Venom India here. I hope they bring him back someday. And finally, I have here the Amazing Spider-Man collection, which is a set of 16 comics. I think this covers the Amazing Spider-Man issue 475 to issue 500, the 25 issues before the 500th issue came out. And dude, these 25 issues, I don't know who the artist is, I'm not able to recall right now, but this style for Spider-Man is so amazing. Like, just look at this cover alone. This cover is just so awesome, and it was in these storylines that we got to see Spider-Man run into Morlun. He met Zilski, who also had this spider-like abilities, like him to cling on to surfaces. We got to see that mythical and mystical connection that Spider-Man has to the web of life and destiny. And even this back cover is so awesome. I remember just how astonished I was looking at the artwork for this Ultimate X-Men cover. And as a kid, I always I never used to obviously read all the stories, but I used to glance over the pictures 1,000 times, and this artwork is just something so mesmerizing about this particular artwork. And I don't know, this run had such an amazing cover arts as well. You can see he's going against Molan in this, and he's going through hell trying to fight him. And what's great is also, not only is Spider-Man facing a lot of different villains and going on a new journey in this time, but there's also a lot of turmoil in his personal life with Aunt May finding out that he's Spider-Man. There's some sort of tiff between him and MJ, some sort of misunderstanding where they're not able to talk with each other, with MJ always traveling due to her modeling or acting career, and Peter being Spider-Man, being the friendly neighborhood hero who's always on duty. And somewhere later in this issue, I'm so glad that him and Mary Jane work it out. And ooh, this cover, I actually had a big poster of this exact cover on my home, but sadly I've lost it to time. I mean, this cover is just so awesome. So yeah, I'm just glad that later on, Peter and MJ get a chance to talk it out, and they seem to reconcile, going back to having a happy married life, with them realizing that they knew what they signed up for and it was going to be difficult, and yet they choose to love each other, accept them for the way they are, and move on with life rather than letting the differences come in their way and separating them. This is issue number 7. Oh, you got Doc Ock over here. It's cool, and this is where I think Peter and MJ finally meet each other again, and they're starting to have that conversation I was telling you. And this is the part where Spider-Man fights Sharta for the very first time, where he almost dies in the first encounter, and then he then doesn't die. Obviously, he comes back and fights her, but then he starts to rely on his spider-like instincts fighting the wasp, and that truly taps into the essence of that prey versus predator, and how every creature is a predator in their own domain, and they have their unique skills to call upon to. Another amazing cover art issue, man. Just look at this gives me that Tobey Maguire swinging off into the sunset vibes. And this is the one I was talking about, where Peter and MJ finally reconcile, and yeah, you got the Spider-Man 2 art. I have this particular comic with me as well, and my god, I actually had a hardbind issue of this back when I was a kid. I don't know where and how I lost it, but I'm sure it was because I did something stupid. But luckily I have the single issue with me now, and it turns out to be one of my most prized possessions. See Spider-Man swinging across New York with MJ on the billboard. Another thing you would have probably noticed a lot in these Gotham comics is there's a lot of promotion for Spider-Man India, because this all came around that time of 2003 to 2006, and it was around that time that that issue was there, so you would see a lot of promotion for that particular comic going around in these comics. I mean, I don't think any of us knew how awesome it would be at that point, but sadly it didn't click then, and I don't understand why, but then it later developed a greater response and attraction amongst the audience. I think, yeah, this is the issues leading up to the 500th issue of Spider-Man, where he gets lost in a certain kind of realm, and he has to travel through every different moment of his life to get to where he really is. This particular issue covers the 500th issue of Amazing Spider-Man. We see the ends of the Earth Spider-Man here as well for the very first time, showing the definitive end of Peter Parker, unless Marvel decides to completely change that and make something new. And as you can see, this is Peter Parker going through all the different phases of his life. So yeah, some of the most iconic moments of Spider-Man, like lifting this heavy weight which was recreated in Homecoming, Doctor Strange telling him not to give up, and this is kind of what they're doing with the new Amazing Spider-Man 800, or Death of 8 times, whatever that nonsense is. And it's such a contrast as to how in this issue, just like about 400 issues ago, they nailed that perfectly well, but Marvel is still trying to milk it by giving Peter hell again and again, even though he's rised up to it. And now that he seems to have quit, I don't blame him. I mean, if these are the writers, I really don't blame him. This is a cool art here. Yeah, and then and you can see here that Peter Parker gets a gift from Doctor Strange, where he gets to meet Uncle Ben for 5 minutes, and he has a hearty conversation with him, and it ends with MJ wishing Peter Parker happy birthday. And I think this issue should have concluded the Amazing Spider-Man series altogether. It should have ended at the 500th issue, because they gave a very good ending for him. And there's this one issue with an epilogue which just shows Peter living his life happily with Mary Jane as a family man, and also figuring out a way to do his heroing, and Aunt May coming to terms with Peter being a superhero who risks his life every day for the city. But like I said, I think this should have marked the end of the Amazing Spider-Man series, because they ended it pretty well in this. Every story that has a start has a journey and also has an end. And if you don't respect that, then the story is just gonna die into some nonsense over time, which I think is sadly what is happening currently with the Amazing Spider-Man storyline. So yes guys, this is my current collection of my Gotham comics. I also have a few posters that I was able to pull out. Of course it's all bent because it's been in these books for over 20 years now, but nonetheless I'm very glad to have them because they're just so nostalgic for me. This is the comics that I had growing up, and sadly they went missing for a very long time, and I still hope to collect more Gotham comics if I come across them. Take India, if you're looking at this, I don't know if this can be brought back, if this can be revived, but I have expressed this numerous times over this very video itself, but I would definitely very much love for Gotham comics to come back and be reasonable at this rate and not exorbitant. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what are your thoughts on Gotham comics, and if you had any of them, which were your favorite issues. Subscribe to my channel if you want more such videos, and I will catch you guys later. Peace.